You have failed at something that mattered to you. Perhaps you put everything into a business that collapsed. Perhaps you applied for a position you were perfect for, and they chose someone else. Perhaps you poured your heart into a relationship and were rejected. Perhaps you worked for years toward a goal and fell short at the final hurdle. Perhaps you tried something brave and fell flat on your face in front of everyone. And now you are dealing with the aftermath. The shame that makes you avoid people who know what happened. The replaying of every decision, every moment, wondering what you could have done differently. The voice in your head that says, "You failed. You are a failure. Everyone saw it. Everyone knows you are not good enough." The pain is not just about what you lost. It is about what it means. You have been rejected by reality itself. The universe looked at your effort, your hopes, your plans, and said no. You are not good enough. You do not deserve this. You were wrong even to try. And underneath all of this is a question that terrifies you: if I can fail at this, what else will I fail at? If I can be rejected here, where else will I be rejected? Maybe the voice is right. Maybe I am not capable. Maybe I should stop trying. It may be safer to want nothing, risk nothing, and reach for nothing. Here is what I want to tell you. The Stoics understood failure and rejection more intimately than almost any philosophers in history. They did not just theorize about setbacks. They lived them. Spectacularly. Publicly. Painfully. Marcus Aurelius faced military defeats, political betrayals, the death of most of his children, and the probable infidelity of his wife. Seneca was exiled twice, lost his wealth multiple times, and was eventually forced to commit suicide by a mad emperor. Epictetus was born into slavery, had his leg broken by his master, and owned nothing. Cato the Younger lost every political battle that mattered to him and chose death over compromise. These were not people whose lives went according to plan. These were not people who succeeded at everything they attempted. These were people who faced crushing failure and devastating rejection, and found a way not just to survive but to maintain their dignity, their character, their peace. They discovered something that most people never learn: failure does not have to destroy you. Rejection does not have to define you. There is a way to face the worst outcomes with your head held high and your soul intact. Let me show you what the Stoics actually taught about handling failure and rejection, and why their wisdom is more practical, more psychologically sophisticated, and more genuinely helpful than anything modern self-help offers. The first thing you must understand is that the Stoics drew a sharp distinction between two completely different things that we confuse under the word failure. There is external failure: you did not get the outcome you wanted. The business failed. You were rejected. The goal was not achieved. The plan did not work. This is about externals, things that are not completely within your control. Then there is internal failure: you acted against your principles. You compromised your integrity. You chose vice over virtue. You knew what was right and did what was wrong. This is about internals, things that are completely within your control. The Stoics would say, external failure is not failure at all. It is simply an outcome. It is information about reality, not a judgment on your worth. It is what happened, not who you are. Internal failure: this is an actual failure. This is the only failure that matters. Because this is the only failure that makes you worse as a person. Most people have this exactly backwards. They agonize over external failures, the business that collapsed, the job they did not get, the person who rejected them. They see these as evidence of their inadequacy, their unworthiness, their failure as a human being. But they barely notice internal failures. They lied to avoid discomfort. They acted from fear rather than principle. They betrayed their values for convenience. They chose the easy path over the right path. These actual failures. Failures of character, they rationalize, excuse, or ignore entirely. The Stoic would say, you have your priorities exactly wrong. You are torturing yourself over things that do not matter and ignoring the things that do. Epictetus taught, no one can harm you without your consent. No one can fail you, you can only fail yourself. This is not semantic wordplay. This is a fundamental reorientation of how you understand success and failure. When your business fails, you have not failed. The business failed. You attempted something difficult. You gave effort. Circumstances beyond your control led to an outcome you did not want. This is disappointing. This is painful. But it is not a failure. Failure would be if you ran the business dishonestly. If you betrayed partners. If you acted from cowardice or greed. If you compromised your integrity for short-term gain. These would be actual failures, failures of character. When someone rejects you romantically, you have not failed. They made a choice based on their preferences, their readiness, and their understanding of what they want. This is compatibility information, not a verdict on your worth. This is painful. But it is not a failure. Failure would be if you manipulated them. If you pretended to be someone you are not. If you violated their boundaries. If you acted without integrity in pursuit of them. These would be actual failures. But if external failure is not actual failure, why does it hurt so much? Why does rejection feel like death? Why do setbacks make you question your entire existence? The Stoics would say, because you have made externals essential to your identity. You have mistaken outcomes for yourself. You have confused what you achieve with who you are. This is the ego problem. The ego, in the Stoic sense, is the constructed self-image that requires external validation to exist. It is the story you tell yourself about who you are. I am someone who succeeds. I am someone who is chosen. I am someone who achieves goals. I am someone who does not fail. When external outcomes contradict this story, the ego experiences this as an existential threat. Because the ego is not rooted in anything real, it is rooted in externals. It is built on outcomes, achievements, others' opinions. And when those externals change, the ego collapses. This is why failure feels like death. Because for the ego, it is death. The story you have been telling yourself about who you are has been contradicted by reality. And now you do not know who you are. The Stoic solution is radical. Stop building your identity on externals. Stop making your worth dependent on outcomes. Stop deriving your sense of self from achievements, from others' approval, from success. Build your identity on internals. On virtue. On character. On who you are, regardless of what happens. On the choices you make, not the results those choices produce. When your identity is rooted in virtue, failure loses its power to destroy you. Because you can always maintain virtue. No circumstance prevents you from acting with integrity, with courage, with wisdom, with justice. These are always within your control. The business can fail, and you can still be courageous in how you handle it. The person can reject you, and you can still be dignified in how you respond. The goal can remain unachieved, and you can still be wise in how you adapt. Your character remains yours regardless of outcomes. And if your identity is rooted in character, then external failure cannot touch who you fundamentally are. Let's be extremely practical about this. When you face failure or rejection, what can you actually control? You cannot control whether the business succeeds. Market conditions, competition, timing, and countless variables beyond your power determine that. You can influence it through your decisions and effort. But you cannot guarantee the outcome. You cannot control whether someone chooses you. Their preferences, their history, their readiness, their perception, these are theirs, not yours. You can be your best self. But you cannot control their choice. You cannot control whether you achieve the goal. Other competitors, unexpected obstacles, circumstances beyond your knowledge or power, these affect outcomes. You can maximize your chances. But you cannot guarantee success. All of these are externals. And when you make your peace dependent on externals, you give your peace to forces beyond your control. You make yourself a victim of fortune. What can you control? You control how much effort you give. Whether you try your best, whether you give full engagement, whether you show up completely, this is yours. Regardless of outcome. You control your integrity in the process. Whether you act honestly, whether you maintain your values, whether you treat others well, whether you stay true to your principles, this is yours. You control how you interpret failure. Whether you see it as information or indictment, as feedback or final verdict, as temporary setback or permanent identity, this is yours. You control how you respond to rejection. Whether you respond with dignity or desperation, with grace or bitterness, with learning or closing, this is yours. You control what you learn from the experience. Whether you extract wisdom from the failure, whether you identify genuine mistakes to correct, whether you grow from the setback, this is yours. Marcus Aurelius faced military defeats that he could not prevent. But he controlled how he led after defeat. He controlled whether he maintained courage and wisdom despite setbacks. He controlled what he learned from what went wrong. His identity was not emperor who never loses battles. His identity was rational being doing his duty with virtue. Battles could be lost. Duty and virtue remained his regardless. Reframing failure, the obstacle is the way. Now we come to one of the most powerful Stoic principles for handling failure: what stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is not positive thinking. This is not pretending that obstacles are not obstacles. This is recognition that obstacles create opportunities that would not otherwise exist, opportunities to develop qualities you would not otherwise develop. Failure reveals what does not work. You now have information you did not have before. You know this approach fails. You know this strategy is insufficient. You know these assumptions were wrong. This is valuable. This saves you from continuing down a path that does not work. Failure builds resilience. You survive something you feared would destroy you. You discover you are more capable of handling difficulty than you believed. You develop the muscle of getting back up. This makes you stronger for future challenges. Failure develops humility. You recognize your limitations more clearly. You see where you were overconfident, where your planning was insufficient, and where you need help. This makes you wiser, more realistic, and more open to learning. Failure reveals character, both yours and others. You see who stays when things get hard. You see who kicks you when you are down. You see what you are actually made of under pressure. This information is gold. Failure creates freedom. Once you have experienced the thing you feared most, failure, rejection, public embarrassment, and survived it, you are free. The fear loses its power. You can take risks you could not take before because you know you can survive the worst outcome. The Stoics would say, "Do not waste the failure. Use it." Every setback contains material for your development if you are wise enough to extract it. Epictetus trained his students with this principle constantly. When something went wrong, he would ask, "What does this reveal? What does this teach? What quality does this situation call for that you would not develop otherwise?" The student who faced rejection learned fortitude. The student who faced failure learned humility. The student who faced betrayal learned discernment. Each obstacle became the specific curriculum that the student needed. Rejection as information, not indictment. Rejection deserves special attention because it is perhaps the most painful form of failure. When you are rejected, romantically, professionally, socially, it feels personal in a way that other failures do not. The Stoics would say, rejection is information. It is not a verdict on your worth. It is data about compatibility, fit, timing, or the other person's preferences. Nothing more. When someone rejects you romantically, they are not saying, "You have no value as a human being." They are saying, "You are not what I am looking for," or "I am not ready for what you offer," or "Our compatibility is insufficient." These are statements about match, not about worth. When you do not get the job, they are not saying, "You are worthless." They are saying, "Someone else fit what we needed better," or "Your skills do not match our requirements," or "The timing was wrong." These are statements about fit, not about value. The pain of rejection comes from taking it personally, from believing that rejection reflects some fundamental inadequacy in you. But this is the ego speaking. This is the constructed self that requires external validation. The Stoic response: separate the information from the emotion. Extract what is useful. This person wants different qualities than I have. This job requires different skills than I possess. This group has different values than I hold. These are useful facts. They tell you where to look and where not to look. They tell you what might need development and what simply needs a different context. But do not add the interpretation, "Therefore, I am unworthy. Therefore, I am inadequate. Therefore, no one will choose me." These are not facts. These are stories the ego tells to explain its wound. Seneca was rejected by Rome, exiled, recalled, exiled again. He could have interpreted this as evidence of his worthlessness. Instead, he interpreted it as information about Roman politics, about his enemy's power, about the incompatibility between philosophy and empire. He used the rejections. The first exile produced some of his best writing. The recall allowed him to influence Nero's early reign for good. The second exile gave him time for reflection. The forced suicide, he faced it with such philosophical composure that his death became one of history's most famous examples of Stoic courage. Rejection did not define him. It refined him. The Stoics did not just philosophize about failure. They practiced preparing for it. This is premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, including the evil of failure. Before important endeavors, the Stoic would imagine failure. Not to be pessimistic. To be prepared. You are starting a business. Before you begin, spend time imagining, what if this fails? What if I lose my investment? What if people mock me? What if I have to start over? What would that actually be like? Could I survive it? You are asking someone out. Before you ask, imagine, what if they say no? What if they reject me publicly? What if they are cruel about it? What would that feel like? Could I handle it with dignity? You are pursuing a major goal. Before you commit, imagine, what if I fall short? What if years of effort produce no result? What if I discover I am not capable of this? Could I live with that outcome? This sounds depressing. It is actually liberating. Because when you have genuinely imagined failure and realized you could survive it, you are free to try. The fear of failure loses its paralyzing power. And when failure actually comes, as it often does, you are not blindsided. You prepared for this. You knew it was possible. You planned your response. You can execute that response with dignity rather than scrambling in panic. Seneca practiced this constantly. Before every exile, before every political defeat, before every loss, he had imagined it. When it came, he was ready. Not happy about it, but ready. And his readiness allowed him to maintain his character through it. The practice: before any important attempt, ask yourself, what is the worst outcome? Could I survive it? How would I maintain my virtue if it happened? What would I do next? This removes the shock. This creates preparedness. This enables courage. Maintaining character through failure. Here is the test of whether you understand Stoic principles. Can you maintain your character through failure? This is where most people fail the real test. They handle success with grace. But failure reveals their actual character. In success, they are generous, confident, and kind. In failure, they become bitter, desperate, and cruel. In success, they have integrity. In failure, they lie, blame, and make excuses. In success, they are philosophical. In failure, they are reactive, emotional, and vindictive. The Stoic would say, this is backwards. Success tests nothing, anyone can be pleasant when things go well. Failure is the true test. Failure reveals whether your virtue is real or just performance. Can you be honest about what went wrong without making excuses? Can you acknowledge your mistakes without self-flagellation? Can you be generous to others even when you are hurting? Can you be just in assigning responsibility even when you are tempted to blame? Can you maintain self-control when you want to rage or give up? This is virtue under pressure. This is a character in the crucible. This is who you actually are when the masks fall off. Marcus Aurelius practiced this ruthlessly. When battles were lost, he examined his decisions honestly. When advisors failed him, he remained just in his response. When personal tragedy struck, he maintained his duty to Rome. His virtue did not depend on winning. It persisted through losing. The practice: when failure comes, pause before you respond. Ask yourself, what does virtue require in this situation? What would wisdom do? What would courage look like? What would justice demand? What would self-control choose? Then do that. Regardless of how you feel. Regardless of what seems easier. Your character is most visible in failure. Make sure what is revealed is worth revealing. Here is something paradoxical: failure, fully experienced and survived, gives you freedom you cannot get any other way. Before you have truly failed, you live in fear of failure. This fear constrains you. You play it safe. You avoid risks. You do not try things where success is uncertain. You protect your perfect record, your unblemished image, your story of yourself as someone who does not fail. This fear makes you smaller than you could be. It keeps you from attempting what matters because what matters always involves risk. It traps you in safety that is really just fear dressed up as prudence. But once you have actually failed, once you have experienced the thing you feared and survived it, something shifts. You realize, failure is survivable. It is painful but not fatal. It is disappointing but not destroying. You are still here. Still capable. Still worthy. And now you are free. Free to try things you could not try before. Free to take risks you could not take. Free to reach for goals you could not reach for, because you no longer need to protect yourself from failure. You have already failed. You have already survived. You know you can do it again if necessary. The person who has never failed is fragile. They do not know if they can survive it. They must avoid it at all costs. They are enslaved by the fear of discovering their fragility. The person who has failed and gotten back up is strong. They know they can survive it. They can risk it again. They are free. Epictetus became free through the failure of being enslaved. His freedom could never again depend on external circumstances because those circumstances had already destroyed the external life he might have had. His freedom had to be internal. And once found internally, it could never be taken again. Let's be extremely practical. You have failed. You have been rejected. The wound is fresh. What do you actually do? First day, feel it. Do not immediately jump into lessons or silver linings or staying positive. Feel the disappointment, the shame, the hurt. The Stoics were not about denying emotion. They were about not being controlled by emotion. Let yourself feel what you feel. Give it space. Do not rush it. Second day, examine what happened. Honestly. What was within your control that you did well? What was within your control that you did poorly? What was beyond your control that affected the outcome? Write this down. Be specific. Be fair, neither too harsh nor too easy on yourself. Third day, extract the lessons. What does this failure teach you about reality? About your assumptions? About your skills? About your approach? What needs to change? What needs to develop? What needs to be accepted? Make a list of genuine lessons. Fourth day, make a plan. Based on the lessons, what will you do differently? What skills will you develop? What approaches will you try? What support will you seek? Create concrete next steps. Fifth day, begin again. Not the same attempt, you have learned, you have adjusted. But begin. Movement cures more than analysis. Action defeats despair. Start small if you need to. But start. Marcus Aurelius would examine defeats this way. Day of the defeat, allow the weight of it. Days after, examine honestly what went wrong. Extract lessons. Adjust strategy. Begin again. He lost battles and won wars because he used each loss to learn. The key is not to wallow, but also not to skip the processing. Feel it, examine it, learn from it, adjust, move forward. This is the Stoic rhythm of handling failure. Finally, we must address the most dangerous confusion, the difference between failing and being a failure. Failing is what you did. Being a failure is what you are. These are completely different categories that people constantly confuse. You attempted something, and it did not work out. You failed at this specific thing. This is a fact about an event. It is not a fact about your identity. But the mind wants to make the leap. I failed at this, therefore I am a failure. I was rejected here, therefore I am rejectable. I fell short of this goal, I am inadequate. This is catastrophic reasoning. This is taking a specific external outcome and making it a universal internal identity. And once you make it identity, it becomes self-fulfilling. Because now you act from the identity of failure, and you create more failure. The Stoic discipline is to keep these separate ruthlessly. You can fail at many things and not be a failure. You can be rejected many times and not be rejectable. You can fall short of many goals and not be inadequate. Because your identity is not your outcomes. Your identity is your character. And character is determined by how you respond to outcomes, not by the outcomes themselves. Epictetus failed at having freedom, at having physical wholeness, at having status. By external measures, his life was failure after failure. But he was not a failure. He was one of history's greatest philosophers. Because his character, his wisdom, courage, justice, self-control, was excellent. His virtue was success regardless of his circumstances. The practice, when you catch yourself thinking, I am a failure, stop. Correct yourself, I failed at this specific thing. I am a person who experienced failure. I am not a failure in itself. My identity is not this outcome. This is not a semantic game. This is maintaining your sanity and your capacity for future attempts. The Stoics do not promise you will not fail. They promise something better, that you can fail without being destroyed. That you can be rejected without losing your worth. That you can face the worst outcomes with your character intact. They do not promise success. They promise that your peace, your dignity, your essential self can remain yours regardless of outcomes. This is not consolation for losers. This is freedom for anyone who wants to actually try, actually risk, actually reach for what matters, knowing that failure is possible, survivable, and not the end of your story. Marcus Aurelius failed at many things. His empire was beset by plague, by war, by economic crisis. Many of his children died. His reign ended in difficulties that would continue after his death. By some measures, he failed. But he was not a failure. He maintained his character through everything. He did his duty with virtue. He remained himself despite circumstances. His meditations, written during his failures, are a testament to a soul that remained whole through everything. This is what the Stoics offer, not immunity from failure, but immunity from being destroyed by failure. You will fail again. You will be rejected again. This is part of living, of trying, of being human. The question is not whether you will fail. The question is, who will you be when you do? Will you let it define you? Or will you let it refine you? Will you make it your identity? Or will you make it your education? Will you let it stop you? Or will you let it teach you? The Stoics show you the path. Not to guarantee success. But dignity was maintained. Not to outcomes controlled. But the character was preserved. Not to fall. But to always get back up. You have failed. Now prove it was not a failure by what you do next.